Now, 2 weeks ago, Sharina posted a little clip on YouTube and to the Facebook about her heavenly experience and how that all came about, how the psychic abilities came about with your
godly experience.
Yeah, when you were 10 years old. So hopefully you all have watched that now. But we were talking about on that little clip, and Sharina said that she would do a piece on this, on her glimpse of heaven. Now, she actually had changed her mind halfway through the week, and just not very, very gentle pushing, I managed to get her to, well, because it's very personal to you, and I think in a lot of in a ways you sort of think that maybe people won't believe you or whatever, but so let's just start off. How did it come about? What was going on in your life when this occurred?
Well, I think I saw it, had been there quite a few times before, and I was actually living at St. Susie, and I just remember that I used to sort of, a lot of the times, I used to sort of like be going through tunnels. It was like all these tunnels, and it was like, but the tunnels, you're going really, really fast, and I thought, oh, here we go again. But even though, I know it sounds really weird, it sounds strange, but just think that there's all these like, these sort of tunnel things, like sort of going down cliffs and over here, and then you get to the destination, and you're going like thousands and thousands, and so fast that it's unbelievable. And when I actually got to the place of this, the flowers are giant size. Like we're talking, like daffodils would be this big, but the yellow colour is like luminous yellow.
So vibrant, it's sort of like a...
Well, they're everywhere, and they're all over the place. These really tall plants. Everyone's sort of got like a white, well, what I could see, some people didn't, but I don't know what, I don't really see what they had. It was like you didn't see that sort of thing. It was like they were just like an invisible person, but the shape was there, sort of thing. And there was a big stream of water, and the water was just, it was like the most beautiful colour you could ever imagine, and everybody was drinking from the streams. There was, I remember on the hill, where this big hill was going up, and you've got to remember that this was like a place that I went to a few different times, and it was maybe, if I say how many times, it would probably wouldn't have been more than 4 or 5 times. And it was always at this same address that I was at, and I never ever saw it after this. I haven't seen anything. Well, I have had some experiences, different experiences, but they weren't exactly these ones. And there was all these, like, just imagine you're sitting on the edge of the planet, yet you can see the whole world, and you're not actually giddy or you're not falling off. And people were actually nearly flying. It was like flying or moving, and there was all this, and everyone seemed to be really slow and really happy, and everyone had their little job. But the people that were going along this, it was like sort of old-fashioned days. It was sort of even a bit like a pilgrimage, sort of a house on the prairie sort of situation, in a sort of way, but more glamorous, if that makes any sense. But the flowers is what got me. I'd never seen anything, and the colour of the grass, it was almost like it was a drawing, and you were part of a drawing. And then you actually, and it was like in the distance, you could see this big, like, this, it was sort of like a orangey light, and it was going right across at the top there. And inside that was the face of, well, I guess everyone sees different things, was the shape of the clouds, but they actually weren't clouds. The shape was like the sun. He was the sun in this, if that makes any sense. God was the sun. But he was part of this, like that sun. And there was also all these lots of glass houses, and it was like study rooms as well, and it was almost as though they were giving information to people, like doctors. And you know how doctors all of a sudden they feel extra tired, and I think we all do go to this place in our dreams, in our sleep, each night, and learn things. I really do believe that. Because all of a sudden you get these times that you feel that you've been somewhere, but you can't remember. Because if we all remembered how beautiful it was up there, a lot of people would go and kill themselves because they wouldn't want to put up with the tragedy or what they were going through. They would just go there if they knew. It's because you don't actually do this. But yes, you got a question.
I was going to say, was it tied into something like astral projection, which is when you're, if anyone who doesn't know what astral projection is, it's when your soul leaves your body, which is attached.
Yes,
but it goes walkabouts.
Yes,
It's sort of time and space doesn't really have too much of a consequence.
Yes. And there was what was really important was there was some young people, and I think this could be really lovely to people out there that have had a lot younger person die. There was little kids there, about say 12, and they were actually in charge of all these little kids, and they were playing soccer, and they were on a hill, and the hill was there, and they were playing soccer games. It was extraordinary.
Can you recall what was going on in your life at that time? Were you going through some stress, or was there a tragedy?
I remember it was a certain date because I'd had with my attack, and that it was almost as though there was something to do with the dates there at the time. Because it was so long ago, I really don't recall what was going through at the time. I just sort of think that, well, I actually was in the middle of changing careers. I think that actually when I look back now, that's when I had I had a modelling agency, and I used to do a lot of TV and commercials and things like that, and I went into working, I went from there at around about that same time, I went into the spiritual work. So I think it was a I was...
Spiritual awakening, maybe?
Actually, I think you're right.
Now you're being guided.
Yeah, I think so. I think that must have been what it was, but it was only, like, it only seems to be, everything seemed to be 2 minutes, but you saw something for about an hour. A lot in that 2
minutes, yeah.
But then I actually, after I had that experience with God, this is something I'm meant to add to the other story, was I actually had this, it was like this mind of the universe, and it's like this big gold thing, gold round circle. I used to see this all the time, and it was a gold ball with all things pointing to every direction. It's like that was the universe. That was the master of the universe.
Wow. Well, like it was like an orb with directions coming from it.
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
Exactly, with all points pointing all everywhere. It was like an energy that was there, and it was pure. It was unbelievable. It was unbelievable, and I've seen that. And another time, just before I had that dream the same night, I got lost and I went down the wrong street, and it was really dark, and I always used to panic when I'd get that. I'd get, that came back to my kidnapping of the dark, and all these fish out of nowhere were just jumping in the air, and it was amazing. They were just jumping up, all of them, just jump, and then more and more, and I was going, oh my God, I thought it was the end of the world. I had no idea what that was.
You know what I find fascinating about this is it happened so long ago, but you can remember it in such detail.
Well, I haven't talked about it for a long time. I because people think I'm a bit of a nutcase or
we all think you're a nutcase, but a lovely nutcase. But is this something that you, like, after it happened, did you jot it down? Did you take notes? It's all just retained as an imprinted?
No, I didn't do anything. I thought, I couldn't believe it. It was sort of like, I sort of felt good afterwards. It was sort of like really
Sounds
good.
like you should feel privileged if you've been
I
given
feel
something.
privileged.
Yeah.
I think that, I think that was probably the time that I changed careers and everything around about that time. So I think that there's all purposes. I think we've all got a purpose there in life to do stuff, and sometimes you think you're not doing what you're supposed to do. I don't think if you go looking for it, I don't think you find it. I think that it finds you.
And sometimes it can happen later in life, sometimes it can happen early in life, I imagine.
That's right.
I still yet to find my purpose, except for shuffling tarot cards. That's about it. Look, it's an extraordinary experience, and you really need. If you're not tempted to put that in your book, was that something that you had intended, or do I have to push you to do that?
No, well, I didn't have that in the book.
No. Maybe it should have been.
Yes. Yes.
Because, the way I look
the
at
more
things,
I think about it, yes.
Anyone who doesn't believe, you're not going to convince anyone. But as I said in the last clip, I think it's very, very comforting to know that there is more out there than what we have here, and that if you are going through tragedy and you have had loss, that at some stage we will connect with those we've left behind and loved at a later date. Did you say, actually, can I just ask you a question, because this is something that, did you see any, apart from fish, did you see any animals there?
I didn't see any animals there, no.
Okay, because I've sort of read, when I used to read about astral projection and what have you, there were certain people who said that pets didn't make it across to the other side, but I also have read that they do.
I believe they do, but I believe that
so.
what I saw was that probably the pets were at the homes. Everyone had these homes with like glass, so it's sort of like glass.
Oh, I'd love to think
There's
that
always
I'd be
glass.
connected to my previous love
Of course
pet.
you would. Well, there's a place called, like they call it Rainbow Ridge.
Yeah.
And that's that's very comforting. I think so. I think that, don't you ever look up to the clouds? Now look at the clouds now, and I see my little baby Bichon Frise in there all the time. You got to start looking into the clouds, looking up to the clouds, and I saw, do you know what? Just after Auntie Phil, my auntie, passed away, a couple of well, it was only just last Monday the funeral, this Monday the funeral, and she actually, as I was driving up to Newcastle to the place, I said to my mum, she was in the back seat, and I said, look at the kingdom, look at the kingdom. The kingdom was there, the kingdom of heaven, and it was in the skies, the shape, it was the castles, and it was all there, it was there. And, you know, of course by the time people go, where? And they've looked,
They shifted,
it's shifted.
I think people will also see what they need to see or want to see as well.
Yes, I think so.
Okay, well look, thank you for that.
Thank you.
Again, I can just sort of quote, halfway through the week, Sharina didn't really want to do this, and I sort of had to gently sort of coerce her in the way, because I just think it actually helps people. But again, thank you for watching, and thank you, Sharina.
Thank you.